Good morning. How are you guys? How is my wonderful online coven? Today, so far, I'm okay. I've had a little bit of a rough morning with my 14-year-old, but I'll suck it up and deal just like I always do. Yesterday, a bunch of us were posting pictures of our quote-unquote familiars. And I've had people starting to ask me, what is a familiar? How do you find your familiar? Do you have to have a familiar? The answer to all of those is it's up to you. An animal familiar is an animal that you have a quote unquote magical connection to. Not everyone needs, wants, or has to have a familiar. Most witches today don't have familiars. They have pets or animals, companions that they love dearly. We have 2 cats and a dog. Our dog doesn't live with us. Our dog Rocky I think is my son Jacob's familiar. I don't think our cat Crystal is anybody's familiar because she's our grumpy cat. She's too darn grumpy and mean to be anybody's familiar. Now, Furry, who is our 9-month-old little black kitten, which my son brought home and found, she's a stray. My son brought her home and found her and gave her to my husband for Father's Day. My husband wants nothing to do with this cat. He just is not connected to her at all like he is to Crystal. Crystal's his cat. Crystal's his baby. The way that I found out that Furry or Fermini was my familiar was one day, I think she was about 3 months old. I was doing a ritual. Had my altar all set up, and she came in and just jumped up on my altar, started playing with my candles, and then all of a sudden she just sat down in the middle of my altar and stayed there with me during my whole ritual. From the time I opened my circle to the time I closed it, she never moved. She just kind of sat there. And then when I closed the circle and ended my ritual, she just hopped off and went away. And I was like, that's really strange. She did it again and again and again. And she's been with me for every single one of my rituals. I get my altar box out, this cat comes running. Because she knows. She's like, okay, Mommy's going to do something. Mommy's going to make some magic. But another way that I found out that Furry was my familiar was we found out that we had a malevolent or evil, nasty spirit in this house. And that it has been a cause it has been a cause of a lot of constraint in this house. And it's gotten a lot better. So we're thinking that the spirit is gone or is just gone back into hiding for a while. We don't know. But it liked to hide. It liked to hang out. The spirit liked to hang out in the kitchen. Or at least that's its room, we think. Because ever since we got Furry, every time that we would be in the kitchen, it's in the east corner of the kitchen. She would just like arch her back and hiss and growl and spit, and she'd like jump over in that corner and start batting at the corner. And there's nothing there. But she's arching her back and hissing and spitting, and we're like, what's going on? There's nothing there. What is going on? And one of my friends came over and said, Derry, there's an evil spirit in this house, and that's where it's hanging out, because look at Furry's reaction to it. And I was like, okay, whatever. But we think that it's either gone into hiding or it's gone. We're hoping, because it hasn't been here in a while. But now back to the tracks on how do you find your familiar. The best way to find a familiar is usually a stray animal. 95% of the time is a stray animal that you have a psychic connection to. Don't ask me how. I don't know. I'm not psychic. But furry is my familiar, and she and I have a connection. I can't explain it. I don't know, but that cat will do anything she can to protect me. And basically, if your familiar must want to work with you, like when you're doing a ritual or when you're at your altar and you're doing some magical workings, if your animal or pet or companion leaves the room, that animal is not your familiar. But again, it is not something that you have to have. So don't panic and don't worry and don't stress if you don't have one. It's not a big deal. 95% of witches today in 2014 do not have familiars. I didn't know what a familiar, I knew what a familiar was because I'd read it in books and I'd seen it in movies and yada yada yada. Pardon me, you're hearing TJ yelling in the background. I'll be right there, TJ! But I didn't realize that I had a familiar until Furry jumped up on my altar that first time. I love that cat. I love having her as my familiar, and she's there for a reason. She hasn't made it known yet, but just the fact that she's in here and she loves me and she loves being with me during my rituals, and she doesn't do this with any other person in this house. I have 7 children, 4 of which are witchlings, 4 of which are pagan witchlings. They don't have familiars. Furry doesn't go when they're doing rituals on theirs. She doesn't mess around with their altars. It's only mine. And they know it and they respect it. My son tried to bring her into his room when he was doing a ritual and she ran out. That was her way of saying, I'm not supposed to be here. So, but, there you go. I hope it helps. If you have any questions, please just let me know, and I will, blessed be, and I will talk to you, and I hope you guys have a great day today. I love you all. Bye.